Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel. So today we will see transaction code SU56, which is user buffer. So I'll tell you the importance of SU56, which is very important because whatever. So let me execute SU56. So it's going to take some time. So we need to understand a few concepts if we talk about SU56. So whenever user logs in, right? So what happens is it'll create user buffer. So which means that so whatever roles that the user has been assigned with. So role is nothing but a combination of a group of authorization objects, right? So when a user logs in, what happens is automatically the user buffer gets stored with all the access that you have provided, based on a particular role. So all of those authorization objects, get stored inside your user buffer. So so this is where we can see, like, what are the various authorization objects that the user has. So there are multiple ways of analyzing this. One is you can go into the particular role. So let's say if he has got assigned, only with one role, then you can easily go ahead and then see what are the available authorization objects and then authorization values that the particular role has. But let's say when a user has got multiple roles assigned, so how are you going to do that? So for analyzing that, so we can use SU56. And the most important thing is, so whenever a user logs in, so his user buffer gets refreshed, and then that will store all the authorization objects and values that a particular user um, can perform. So, which is why, so whenever a user execute a transaction code, first what happens is SAP will check the user buffer, whether that particular transaction code and their associated authorization objects are available with the user or not. So that will be checked in the user buffer. So so this is the user buffer. So in this case, you get to see a lot of authorization objects because I've been assigned with SAP all for the training purposes. So you will be able to see the username, the authorization objects, the client, the time when I've logged in, and instance, etc. So here you can see number of authorizations, 7,281. So in here you get to see the user's authorization data for my user ID, and you can see the object class, and then you can see the multiple authorization objects, which are available, for my ID. So you can, for example, let's say, let me take you to, uh, yeah. So we can take anything basically. So yeah, for example, let's say, so in here for this particular authorization object, you get to see, the authorization is coming from SAP all profile. Okay. So let's expand it. So let's see what is the activity I've been given with star and what is the other authorization field I've been given with star. So in here, if you see here, right? So this is an authorization and this is the profile, and this is authorization and this is a profile. So basically, along with SAP, all have been assigned with some other role. So here you can also see that particular profile from where it is coming from, and then you can also see the role name as well. So in here, if you see, everything is star. So let me go back to transaction SU01 and then see what are the authorizations that are assigned to my user ID. So let's go to this, go to roles. So here it is. So I've been assigned with a different role and also the profiles. So this is how you will be able to analyze how many roles has been assigned to a particular user, and then what are the different authorization objects and then field values in a particular role. So let's say, for example, so you will get an authorization issue saying that user is not able to do something, and then SU53 is giving us one authorization object. So we can just search for that particular authorization object. So let me try doing it. Let's say the school user underscore AGR. Let's say I just wanted to find it. So here it is. So for example, so here we get to see the authorization object. So if you expand, so if the user has got 5 or 6 roles assigned, right? So if among those 6 to 7 roles, whichever has got S user AGR authorization object, you get to see here from here itself. So then we'll be able to see which role has got what authorization object and then what field values. So which is very important, and then it will make your life easier in order to explore further, in order to analyze further. So which is why this is very important to know. And one more important thing regarding user buffer is you can use this for two purposes. So sometimes what happens is, if you see here, right, there is an option called as reset user buffer. Let's say there is a user coming in and then he's complaining saying that I don't have access to a particular transaction code, let's say FB01. So when you check it, when you check the user profile, which is SU01, so you get to see he has been assigned with a role and then he do have access to FB01. But however, he cannot execute it. He cannot, whenever he tries to execute it, it says you're not authorized. So how do you tackle that is one way, one of the, see, this is only one way. Okay, there are multiple ways in exploring and then analyzing an authorization issue. This is one way. So what we can do is we can reset the user buffer. By doing that, what happens is sometimes if his authorizations are not loaded properly, due to some XYZ reasons, which SAP does at the back end. So one way of doing it is you can reset the user buffer, which is one way, so that the profiles gets adjusted and then his authorization objects, will again, create a new user buffer. So which is why we have this option called as reset user buffer. So how do we do that for a different user from your access? So from the security administrator, so let's say I will go here. So you see an option here, right? Display for different user or authorization object. So you will click on that. So you will try to find out, maybe you can take any example and you can also search, whether this particular user ID has access to a particular authorization object. So let's say now I'm giving it a star, which means that it should pull all the authorization objects, available for test_123 user ID. And then you'll just simply say execute. So it does not exist. Okay. So let's try to find out the existing user IDs. So let's say starting with test, let's say I'll take test123, and then let's say I'll give it a star, and then let me execute. So this is going to take some time because it's going to fetch, all the authorized. See, if you see here, so now this test ID, you will be able to display it. And then you can see that he has been assigned with a number of authorizations is 2,900, which doesn't matter to us. So, and then here are the authorization objects that he has been assigned with. And similarly, now, so we can do the reset user buffer from here. So this is one way of doing it. So now you get to see an option called as user buffer reset successfully. Okay. And also this will also store, so you can also, do, something like you can search for a particular authorization object from here itself instead of displaying, all the 2,900 authorization objects that this particular user has. So I can just do it. So, yep. So here you get to see this ID has been assigned with 3 roles. And then all of these 3 roles has got access to this particular authorization object. So now if you drill down, you get to see what are the activities that has been assigned with. So if you expand it, right, so you get to see, right, here it is. So in this particular basic role, he has been assigned with activity with star, and then act group, he has been restricted to XYZ star. And then if you see the other role, so this is Z role 1 and this is Z role 3. And in here, the activities are restricted to 03, 22, 78, and 79. In here, it has been given it as star. Similarly, in role display, he has been given with 03, and then he has been given with star as this ACT group authorization field. So this is how you'll be able to do it. Okay. So this is one way of doing it. So yeah, so these are the various ways of doing it. If we speak about the user buffer, so this is very important to understand. So it is going to help you in analyzing authorization issues further. Okay. So yeah, so you can, and the other options, it's the same thing. So the option that you get to see here is different user authorization object. This is nothing but this particular icon. Okay. So this is how you'll be able to analyze it. And then this is how you'll be able to see what are the authorizations that a particular user has. Okay. All right. So we will take a leave today. So I'll meet you in the next training session. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please do subscribe for more exciting videos. Thank you so much.